Welcome back to the crypt. Today we're gonna do something a little different. This extra video is a Q&A in combination with the absolutely wonderful Haley Wright. So you guys are watching part 2 of this video. If you'd like to see part 1, go ahead and go to Haley's channel. I'll leave a link down below and you guys can check out part 1. So I'll also leave the questions in the description box and feel free to answer them as we go along in the video.
So I actually do not have any rituals that get me in the writing mood. Usually I will try to tidy up my desk if I'm going to be working on my desk, but a lot of the times, especially lately, I've just been like sitting on my bed and writing. But sometimes I will like set the mood a little bit where I have this lamp with a green and a reddish pink light that I'll put on, and I'll turn my overhead lights off, and I have some string lights by my bed that I will turn on, and I will light a couple candles. But I normally save that, and maybe light some incense. Maybe. It all depends. I feel like I only do that if I'm feeling like really not motivated to write and I'm trying to find a way to bring up my creativity. But most of the time I won't actually do that anymore.
My ritual is something that I've really started doing only over the last like 2 years. But I do tend to bring up an ambiance of some kind. It usually is an ambiance associated with what I'm writing. If I'm not sure or I'm having a hard time deciding, I will just default to fireplace crackly sounds or maybe rain or thunderstorm sounds. I have to be careful with that one though, because I use rain to go to sleep, so it has to be like really loud thunderstorm like sounds. But I have also done like deserted space station and things like that, especially for Project Clockwork. I also have started writing down session log in my creative writing journal, and that really also helps me stay on track because I have bullet points of these are the things you need to hit in the next scene. I will also tend to click my phone off, have it charging far away from me, like inconvenient to get to. So I'm not tempted to turn it on, I'm not tempted to look at it.
Yeah, so I don't have any specific like main tracker, like one spreadsheet to go through all my projects because I'm really bad at doing more than one project at once. So I've never really had to utilize any trackers, at least at this stage in my career. I feel like the more I write, the more likely I will need something like that. Right now, I kind of use the NaNoWriMo website like all year long. Like for my rewrite right now with the Dance of Shadows, I put in my word count goals for the revision and I just kind of upload sporadically as I work on my project into that NaNoWriMo website because I feel like that has always really worked well for me. Lately, I've also been doing daily logs just in Sketchpad notebook where I will write this day and what I got done and all that stuff, but I'm really not consistent with it. I'm really bad about like sitting down and doing it. So I'd say I try, but I have yet to succeed. Everything else is just kind of in my head in terms of draft 1 versus draft 0 versus draft 5 versus draft whatever it is, at least for right now.
I use my Notion as well as my journals to organize currently. I also have a little vision board, aka cork board, that's there with all my goals and a tracker that's visually always open in there so I can see it. My Notion is going through a massive overhaul right now because I just have so many videos and so much filming and other social media to take care of. I'm rebooting a lot of my social media too. It's a lot, so I utilize all of the systems pretty much. It's so much better than what I used to try to use, which was sticky notes and little note cards everywhere. I get so much more done now because of those systems.
Oh, I would totally rebel for this one. Yeah, fuck the government. No, I'm not. Don't censor me, especially if I'm doing it for social justice. If they were like spreading propaganda or like hate speech, that'll be hell no, convert that shit. But if I am helping my society by rebelling in it to better society, hell yeah, I'll rebel.
I would love to say that I'd use my writing to rebel, but I am way too much of a people pleaser and way too much of like the straight A honor rolls kind of student. So technically I would follow the rules. I would probably try to slip in coded messages into my work as best I could, but that's like as rebellious as I can foresee me getting. I'm not the revolutionary type.
I do have go-to drinks and snacks when I am writing. For the most part, I always drink coffee. Coffee is my go-to. I also, some lactose-free cheese and crackers, popcorn, sweets, wine. Wine is bae.
It depends on the time of day, but my favorite beverage is iced tea. I grew up with iced tea. My mom would make it all the time because it was super cheap to make in bulk. So that is my drink of choice. Though sometimes if I'm really low on energy or really having a hard time, I might motivate myself with soda. I recently was able to find root beer at a Caldi near me, and I'm really excited about it. I have not had root beer in 2 years, so I'm excited. I am beyond excited.
Ambient sounds or silence? It depends on what I'm writing. I feel like if I'm having a hard time motivating myself to write and I don't want to, I will put on some ambient sounds, some music, as long as there's no lyrics. But for the most part, like if I'm in a flow, sometimes the music will take my mind away, or I'll start listening to the music instead of writing. So I will write in silence then. But it really depends on my mood.
Ambiance. I do not listen to lyric music. Epic orchestra music or anything like that, because again, my mind will just start spinning too fast. So while I'm writing, it's ambiance all the way.
For question 16, I feel like if my book was made into a movie, I would want it to be Marvel level, like a serial movie where it's like really action-packed, kind of dark, but also funny. Yeah, I really like Marvel, so. Or like X-Men vibes. I have a lot of X-Men vibes going on in my book, and I think like an X-Men style movie would be, thank you.
I feel like experimental would be the only way my stuff would get filmed. My writing is really serious. Actually, I don't write a lot of comedy. If you were to try to film and you went straight serious, I feel like it would just, like DC, I think takes the dark a little too far to the point where it gets monotonous almost. Also, the more recent Marvel stuff has also kind of felt like that to me. There's just no light to it that I can see, so I just don't even bother watching it. My personal opinion. So for me, I feel like you'd have to do something experimental, because otherwise it would just feel way too dark.
I like inserting current religions, politics, stuff like that into fantasy. I change it though, like obviously like I might change the name of it, but I feel like I mostly use speculative fiction and fantasy in order to shed light on current issues or problems I see in society. And so that's kind of like my go-to thing. Like with this current book, the people with powers called affected basically are a metaphor for immigrant racism, bigotry, segregation, just like all of the bad discriminatory things that are happening in the US are happening to these people. But yeah, especially if it's an urban fantasy. If it's an urban fantasy, then it is set in our world. There's just like witches and vampires and stuff. So I would think, yeah, of course there would be our pop culture, our history, our everything like this. If it's a whole new world, no, because it's a whole new world. It's not going to have the same type of stuff going on.
I feel like a lot of research, as well as having really strong context and sensitivity editors. If a writer can't take feedback, they really shouldn't touch this stuff. I feel like it backfires really easily if you don't take care.
Oh my god, I had so many journals that I wrote on the first page for. I did a whole overhaul of my journals last summer, and I ripped out all of the first pages and I put it just like in a little binder from when I was a kid. There was probably well over 30 journals, and I donated most of them to Goodwill. I kept a couple just for if I need another one here or there or whatever, but yeah, for the most part, it's probably over 30.
5 or 6. To be honest, I'm trying to get better about it. I have been using up a lot of my older supplies. I should be finishing up with some of the cheaper journaling material I have at the end of this year, so I'll enter 2022 with nicer journals. So my plan with me should be a little bit easier. The current stuff I'm using, everything bleeds through. It's pretty bad. But to be fair, a lot of the journals right now that are being used that only have 1 or 2 pages are my study journals. I really need to get back into language study. I've really been slacking on it as I've focused on rebooting my writing and my reading. been really hard to do anything else as I'm just trying to get traction on this. So one of my goals for next year is to get started on that. I'm still deciding whether or not I want to do traditional classes, or it'll be interesting to see what I can pull off next year. But for now, the journals remain unfinished.
Question 19. I think in terms of like story requests, as in people telling me their story idea and then having me write it, I did something kind of similar when I was in high school. There was a girl who wanted me to write about her, and I did, but I never showed it to her or anything, or did anything with it. I've taken story requests in terms of my parents just asking me to read them something that I've written for my birthday. They were like, oh, it'll be nice for your grandparents if you read something that you wrote for your birthday. And I'm like, okay. So I did do that. But it was also a first draft because I try to do this fun, write how many words for how old I am thing on my birthday. Yeah.
I've only asked for prompts from family members a few times, and usually only when I'm feeling like I want a true challenge. Like I feel kind of bored and stuck, and I'm just like, I just need to challenge myself and push way outside of the boundary. When I ask for prompts, a lot of the prompts I get, because a lot of my friends and family aren't creative writers or artists, so usually I get a bunch of random words and I have to somehow put them together. Interestingly enough, so far all of them have turned into short stories that have done quite well. Like everyone who's edited those short stories really enjoyed the process, but none of them have been ideas that have been able to be big enough for a full novel. They're just short story material.
Question 20. Yes, I have found older works that I don't remember writing. Like I said, for the last question, I had this overhaul where I was going through all of my school stuff from elementary school through high school, and I found so many little scraps of paper, those journals that had like some stories in them, so many different snippets that I didn't remember. And then most recently, my mom just texted me yesterday, I think, because my grandparents are moving into assisted living. She said that she found a story that I wrote in high school that I apparently gave to my grandma. She kept it, and I do not remember writing it for my life. I don't even know what the story's about. I don't know if my mom reread it or is keeping it, or if she just threw it out after. I have no clue. That is definitely the most recent example. So yeah, literally yesterday, I think.
A few short stories from college. College was really stressful for me, and I had one or two really huge swings of depression. One of them was severe, and the short story I wrote for a class on that one, I don't remember writing that. I actually had a friend who found a copy because she did peer review on it, so she printed all her peer review stuff because it was easier for her to edit a printed copy. And she showed it to me, and at first I denied writing it. I was like, this must have been one of our classmates, this wasn't me. And then she showed me the stuff at the end, and she was like, no, this is you, this was your name, this is the date you posted it. Some of my teachers that have experienced my writing, they're probably in therapy, and I'm probably at fault for that. Thank you so much for watching. If you didn't see part 1 of this Q&A get to know me, I will go ahead and leave a link down below and up above. Thank you so much to Haley Wrights for doing this collaboration with me. I look forward to doing more collaborations with you in the future. I look forward to reading comments down below to see what you guys would answer any of these questions, especially questions like what you like to drink or eat when writing, and also if you listen to ambiance or any kind of music while you write. I am always game for more ambiance suggestions, so if any of you guys like ambiance and you have recommendations, leave them down below because I will 1000% check them out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.